What's happening, people? It's me, Mr. Gavin Cameron, your car finance expert and also managing director and co-founder of Car Buying Guru. Firstly, the socials. If you want to follow me, it is Mr. Gavin Cameron on Instagram, Mr. Gavin Cameron 7 on Twitter, and obviously follow Car Buying Guru. That's at Car Buying Guru UK on both Instagram and Twitter. So today I'm going to have a quick chat with you guys. It's my first episode of the Car Finance Expert podcast, and I'm going to talk to you about a headline or an article even by the BBC that caught my eye. A friend of mine sent it to one of my WhatsApp groups. One of the more serious things that have been sent in that WhatsApp group, if we're honest. But the headline reads, "Car payments are ruining our lives." It's an article written by a gentleman called Dan Whitworth for the BBC, dated on the 28th of June 2019. I'm sure if you go on the BBC website, you'll be able to find it. I'll actually leave a link below wherever you're listening to this. You'll be able to find the article. But being in the car industry myself and been selling car finance since the summer of 2012, so that's 7 years almost to the day now, I felt that the headline was a bit sensationalized. Not to say car payments don't ruin people's lives. It can do, which is part of the reason why we created Car Buying Guru. But in this particular instance, it was made out like someone had been a victim of a heinous crime. I don't know how to say that word. But yeah, it sounded like someone had been a victim when, let's face it, we make our own decisions in life. So I thought, let me just jump on the mic. I've been meaning to start a podcast on car finance, and this one had me in some debates on Twitter, opened some good conversations on Twitter, and I thought, let me add my 2 pence via audio and just shed some light on my thoughts on it. Now, without going through the whole article, the long story short is that a young girl seems to have gone into a car dealership. I don't think it specifies what car dealer it is. Even if it did, I'm not going to put their name out on blast like that. But yeah, she gone into a car dealership to buy herself a new car, Audi A1, very popular amongst young women. And it seems that she's gone in, she's brought the car on car finance, or I presume it was a PCP. Again, I've read this article a few days ago, so the details do slip my mind at the moment, but I'm going to say it was a PCP, possibly a HP, and she is spending over £300. Now, the first thing I thought was an Audi A1 for £300 a month, unless it's brand spanking new and it was an S-Line or a black edition, that sounds like a hell of a lot of money, especially if it was on a PCP. And if it's used, then she definitely has paid way too much for that car. But what people fail to realise, what people don't like to realise, should I say, because I think they do realise it, is that car dealerships are businesses. Now, like anywhere, you can negotiate with a car dealer. It's not like when you go into Tesco's and you buy, a bag of potatoes, and the price on the bag of potatoes is the price on the bag of potatoes. You can't negotiate or anything. You can negotiate. But what I imagine happened in this scenario, when she's gone in there, she's seen shiny Audi A1. She probably wanted an Audi A1 for ever in her life, in as far as her life went. She probably thought as soon as she got her license, that's the car I want. They're very popular, like I said. They've been around for a few years now, and young women like them, and that's fair enough. If you're a salesman, I can't imagine that if this girl walked into your dealership, sat at your desk, went on a test drive in an Audi A1 with you, you found it very hard to sell her a car. Because the things that she's done wrong was that she's not thought about it. She clearly didn't consult her parents, because they're the ones that are actually complaining in the article that they're having to foot the bill, and they think it's wrong, and they think it's something that needs to be done about it, and they're having to subsidize the payments for her, etc. So she's clearly gone out and done this herself without any research. And yeah, I think that what she needs to be held accountable for is that she's gone in there and brought a brand new car, or a nearly new car, let's not presume, and she's paid for it, she's purchased it like it was a pair of shoes. Impulse buy. You can't do that with vehicles. A car is the second largest payment. The second largest pay. Can't speak. The second largest purchase you will make in your life. Now, at her age, I think she's in her early 20s, it would be the largest payment she would have. Sorry, the largest. It would have been the largest purchase she would have made in her life up until that point. Got it out finally. Perfect. So yeah, she couldn't really have had the right mindset to be caught in a situation where a year or two down the line, when the novelty's worn off and everyone's seen her in an Audi A1 and, you know, she's gone back to university and being the girl that's got the new car is sort of worn off because more people have got new cars, and she's now stuck with a payment, which is probably as much as her rent. I remember when I was in university, my rent was similar to what she was paying for that car. So yeah, she's probably doubled her outlays just on wanting to have this brand new car, and now her parents having to foot the bill. And it's made news. I don't understand why this. And my friend that sent this article to the group, that was the first thing he said. He doesn't understand why this is news. So yeah, I mean, you just need to be more prudent when you're going out and making these purchases. Now, one of the things they spoke about in the article was an affordability check. It's actually illegal for finance companies to sell finance without checking if you can afford the car. Now, are they going to dig in your bank account? Are they going to ask you for 100 different proofs of your income? No, they're not. They're going to ask you certain questions. They're going to ask you how much you make, and because of data protection, unless the finance company specify they need to see that, because whatever they see on the when they do the underwriting shows something inaccurate with what you've given, the information you've given, they're not going to ask for proof. They're going to ask you to tell them how much you make, and they may even ask you to tell them how much you spend. And for example, with our application form, we ask you what your surplus income is. So how much money do you have left once you've paid all your bills? Once you've paid the things you need to pay for to live, i.e. rent, council tax, etc., or a mortgage, whatever your case may be, how much money have you got left? And then you'd put that in, and then it would ask you, is the amount you have a surplus more than the amount you are proposing to pay for the vehicle? And if your surplus is higher than the amount you're proposing to pay, then they'll go ahead. There's only so many checks you can do. I mean, people need to understand that these dealerships, these finance companies, especially the finance companies, they're selling thousands of cars per month. Dealerships are selling hundreds of cars per month. It's busy times, and each customer, like I said, you're not buying a pair of shoes. So you have to take time. There are going to be customers in a dealership. They're asking more questions and they go in a bit more detail. So the salespeople need to get on to the next one. It's not their job to hold your hand necessarily and walk you through the process, which again is part of the reason why the Car Buying Guru is designed the way it is, because we will give you, our business is built around doing that and speaking to people and making sure you're making the right decisions. And there's people out there that will do that. But if you're going into a car dealership and you're expecting these guys that get paid to make the most amount of profit out of you as possible, turn around and give you sound advice and say, you know what, I'm not being funny, but I don't think you can afford this car, then it's not really going to happen. So the finance companies do what they need to do. They legally are obliged to do what they need to do, to ask you the right questions, to bring, for me, the way I see it, they bring to your attention what you are getting yourself into. How much do you make? How much do you spend? Okay, once you've done all that, can you afford this car? Those are the questions that are asked. And if you click yes, 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 or you answer yes, 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 because you just want to get into a vehicle, I'm afraid it's not the finance company's problem. One thing I may say the dealership didn't do, and again, I'm presuming, I wasn't there, but in my experience, I think they failed on what they call TCF, so treating customers fairly. I would love to see the paperwork for this finance agreement, because I've got a feeling that her APR even, is extremely high. And I believe that she got a bad deal. She didn't negotiate. She probably got the first deal on the table. She makes, I don't know, let's say she makes £1,200 a month, or working part-time plus whatever she gets from including whatever she gets from her parents and student loan or whatever. So she's got £1,200. She knows she's going to hit £1,200. And she's thinking, oh, yeah, I can afford 320 quid. I'll do that. No problem. But so there's no negotiating. She never thought, well, actually, hang on a second, let me speak to these guys and see if I can bring that down. And the only way they bring it down, they're probably not going to drop the price of the vehicle. There's not much money in the metal, by the way. As much as people think that a 20 grand car is going to have £18,000 worth of profit in it, it's not true. A lot of these dealerships are actually selling cars to just break even, or sometimes even making a loss just so they can sell the finance. The money is in the finance for car dealers 99.9% of the time these days. So when she was presented with her first offer, I presume, I may be wrong, but when she was presented with her first offer, I imagine it was high, the interest rate was high, the APR was high, and she accepted it. And there is where the dealership, I believe, made their money and where they were wrong. They presented her with an offer when they would not have put that on an advert. So let's say the APR was 15%, and even that's sky high. I don't even know what it would be at. So we're 12.9. If you go through most of the adverts, if you go through most of the cars on Auto Trader and you check the finance calculator, you're probably looking at around 9.9 because it's a good advert. It's competitive, 8.9 even, it's a good rate, it's competitive. But the rule is that when you're advertising at that rate, that you have to be offering a certain amount of your customers that rate, or at least selling a certain amount of your customers at that rate for you to be treating customers fairly. So if they do have a leg to stand on, it is that the dealership, not the finance company, the dealership did not treat that customer fairly by presenting them with a high rate, because the finance company charge out, or they sell the finance to the dealership at a certain rate, and then the dealership are able to bump up that rate to a certain amount. There is a cap on it, but they'll bump up that rate to a certain amount to earn their money. So where the article's throwing all the fire and all the flames towards the finance company, I believe the person or the people that are in the wrong is A, the customer, and B, the dealership, by not treating her fairly and not selling her at a rate that would have been advertised at. So yeah, I mean, that's the only leg that she has to stand on, or the only blame that can be pushed elsewhere other than the consumer for me in this one. But to avoid, if you're a young person listening to this, to avoid getting yourself into this sort of situation, what I would recommend is just be careful what you're doing. Don't go into a dealership all excited, all gun-ho, waving your debit card about, trying to throw a deposit on the first car you see. It's got a German brand that you think is going to look amazing when you park up outside your friend's barbecue this summer. It's just not smart, because eventually the novelty will wear off. The car may even become impractical, but your monthly payments are still going to go, and you're still going to have to pay it, and it's still going to be your responsibility. Now, don't be caught in that scenario. Just be more prudent. Just be a bit smarter. Take your time to breathe, and then think, you know what? I'm going to go and speak to my parents, or I'm going to do a bit of research. There's people out there, like I said, Car Buying Guru. If you go on carbuyingguru.co.uk, go on our YouTube, there's information out there from people like ourselves that will tell you certain things to think about and certain things to ask the dealership. Certain questions to ask, certain ways to get yourself a better deal. Don't do it on emotion. And parents, I think you hold some responsibility as well to speak to your kids. Make sure that they know that a car is not, it's like a dog. With them adverts they used to have, a dog is not just for Christmas. It's for, I can't remember how it went, but a car is not just for Christmas. A car is a massive, massive, massive investment. When you're in them ages anyway, if you're in your early 20s, it's the biggest purchase you would have made up until that point, 9 times out of 10. So just be careful. Just be careful. But I'll be honest with you, like I said, when I saw the article initially, I was surprised it was even news, because this stuff happens all the time. It happens in dealerships up and down the country. People are buying cars that are expensive, left, right and centre. It's not cool. It's not what should be done, but it's a business. And if you walk into car dealers are there to sell cars, and they're there to sell finance, and they're there, most importantly, to make money. So if you go in there and you do not negotiate and you do not haggle, you are not going to get the best deal. You have to know how to try and drive yourself a bargain, and just do certain little things and ask certain questions. But the main thing is just do your research. I don't know why this was news. I don't know why the writers made it out to be like car finance is killing us. It can get to the point where it can be, and I think it already is, to be honest, cause major damage to the economy. Yes, I agree with that, but it's not because of finance companies. I believe it's to do with the consumers buying more than what they can afford, or living above their means, not really thinking about what they're doing, and some of the dealers, not all dealers, some of the dealers not doing what's right by the customer, not selling finance fairly. It shouldn't be news, but people are to be made aware. But anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Some food for thought for you guys. If you got any questions, like I said, get in touch. You can get me on Instagram at Mr. Gavin Cameron, or on the Twitter handle at Mr. Gavin Cameron 7, or hit the company directly at Car Buying Guru UK. That's both on Instagram and Twitter. Go on our website, carbuyingguru.co.uk. Check out our articles, check out our videos. Got some offers on leasing, all sorts of good stuff on there. Last but not least, my book. So you want to buy a car? A lot of the stuff I've covered in this podcast, things to think about, things to ask dealerships, and basically a general guide on how to make sure you make the best purchase when buying a vehicle. All that stuff's in the book. It's completely free. I'll leave a link in the description. Wherever you're listening to this, you should be able to access it. Or if you can't, go on our website, carbuyingguru.co.uk/shop, and you'll see it there. Completely free download. I think you just need to put your email address in and it will send it straight to you. That should save you some money. That should make you think about some stuff, and will not allow you to be in the same situation as this young girl that's now stressing out her parents because she can't afford to drive that German whip that she was so excited to get. And like I said, check us out on social media, keep in touch. Thanks for listening to our first episode of the Car Finance Expert podcast. Bye-bye.